Hey everybody, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And we're happy to have with us again Peg Alloy.
Hello.
And Peg, who do you write for again?
The Boston Phoenix.
And the...
And Cinefantastique Online, and I have a blog called The Witching Hour. Check that out.
You write for
Cinefantastique Online.
I'm envious. Holy crap.
Is that based in Paris?
No, it is not.
No?
It was a print magazine that started in the 60s, and it was the premier horror fanzine. And they still have an online presence, and it's a lot more commercial. And it's
Wow.
I've done about 4 long pieces for them, and I keep trying to pitch interviews and stuff. But they've got a handful of really good writers.
One of my greatest personal achievement in my half dozen years of working on movies was to have my photo, the back of my head, in Cinefantastique.
That was you?
I thought that was you.
Behind the scenes piece on Ninja Turtles. I think I told you about this. We had one of the, when we were filming Ninja Turtles 2, we had one of the Cinefantastique guys come down from New York and do an on-set thing, and they took photos and stuff. When I got the issue months later, I was like, holy shit, I'm in the
That's awesome.
I loved that magazine.
I don't think they print it anime.
There was a time then in the late 80s, 90s where that was the thing. I mean, even earlier, pre-internet generation, you were getting your real early movie scoop stuff was coming from Cinefantastique.
They also have, they did a full-length piece on The Wicker Man back in the day, the original 1973 version, and that article is still considered a scholarly source for, discussion of that film. So
did they revisit the remake with Nicolas Cage?
I'm sure they did. I haven't read that particular piece, but I'm sure that they must have.
Yeah.
That film, that remake, horrific though it may be, it's and I don't mean that in a good way. It has some merit in its ideas, but
does it have who's the woman? Suzanne George?
No.
Who's
you mean the original Britt Eklund?
Britt Eklund dancing against the wall.
There is
naked?
no naked dancing, and that was a stand-in. That was not Britt Eklund naked.
Don't.
I shattered your.
No.
I know. I just ruined your life.
Lying.
It's true.
You're lying. Next, you're going to tell.
She didn't have a nice enough ass for the scene. They used her naked breasts and for frontal nudity, but they had to get an ass model for
double.
Ass double.
Ass double.
How do you get an ass double and how?
I would need one.
I'm my own ass double.
Hey, I need an ass triple. Anyway,
on this episode, we're talking about Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
My ass.
In addition to John's ass.
3D.
Oh yeah.
Rise of the
Planet of the Apes.
And we're also going to talk about a horrible film called The Change Up. That if you read a good review about this, I would have to say that person is nuts.
They're on the take.
What a disgusting movie. And we're also going to talk about One Day, the new film from
Lona Scherfig.
I practiced pronouncing this.
Yeah, you did.
Right, for a moment, and I didn't get it. Lona Scherfig.
I'll give you a whole, from now on, just speak in that accent, and we'll come to you.
I loved the education. She was terrifically personable in her interview, and I loved her excitement about filmmaking. And so I was eager to see the film. I did not see it, but John and Peg saw it, so we're going to talk about that.
Did.
And I think we want to kick things off with Planet of the Apes?
No, let's get the change up out of the way, because it's not going to be pretty and it won't last long.
Oh, my God.
Okay, then.
All right.
I'm so glad I did go see this, but I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Oh, my God. Should
we just start with the poop joke, the baby poop joke?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of gross things.
Just...
Really, so it's infantile as well as...
This is like a I don't know, when were they going through the vogue of having body-changing movies? Remember,
Jekyll and Hyde.
Jekyll and Hyde. And then you had, what was the one with Ellen Barkin?
Switch.
Jimmy
Switch. That's great. Yeah, Jimmy Smits, that's terrific.
There was the one with George
Foster.
Burns and some other kid.
Oh, God, yeah.
90.
And they did it in Xena Warrior Princess a number of times with great effect, I thought.
If you tell me they used any kind of stunt body parts for that episode, I'm really not going to be happy.
This is just the most absurd body-changing movie. It's just so bad.
But it has an important social lesson to pass on. Do not pee in public in a fountain while making a declaration that your life sucks. Otherwise,
because then all of a sudden
change.
Magic will happen, and you will switch bodies with the person that you do not
they're peeing
respect.
in the fountain. They're already starting off by doing this sort of borderline illegal, disgusting thing.
There's no reason for this metaphysical event to.
But let's talk about the poop joke. The first poop joke. It's
But it does happen in the first.
You've got a guy that's a freewheeling single dude that sleeps around, and then you've got this guy who's like family, Reynolds, and then Jason Bateman is the one who's married
Straight
and
up
has a
lawyer.
wife, and they're very happy, whatever. But they wonder, I wish I had your life. I wish I had your life. Bing, they pee in the fountain, and that's.
And it's miscasting from the. Ryan Reynolds should never been cast as this ne'er-do-well who eats crap, because his body does not look like he eats crap.
Right?
His body does not represent the lifestyle of a slob.
Not the eating crap we're going to talk about.
There is actual, I think, crap eating.
Seth Rogen or somebody.
Right. Would have been better off with Seth Rogen. This was just unbelievable from the start. Okay, and to start things off, we're introduced to Jason Bateman's life, wherein he's in sort of a trapped parenthood, sort of situation.
Didn't want to have a baby.
Right. And John, do you want to take it from there when he walks into the kids' room?
Well, he's obviously a sleep-deprived dad, and it's his turn to get up with the crying babies. He's got two little ones. I guess they're twins, and he walks in the room, and one of them is just maniacally banging his head against the side of the crib. Like you would call 911 if this was happening. He's just kind of like, I told you not to do that. So he's got to change the babies. He knocks over the fresh set of diapers. In one hand, he's got the little one with his legs up in the air, and he's trying to stretch and get a fresh diaper, and suddenly the badly CGI'd butthole of the baby starts to pucker. And then...
Oh, there's a close-up of it?
No, but it's kind of like this huge cavern in the background. It doesn't even need a close-up.
This is what you're thinking while you're watching this, is that a team of people have animated this baby's sphincter.
Thousands of dollars were spent on this. And then so the baby projectile poops once and hits him in the face, and then does it again and gets him right in the mouth.
Unbelievable.
So that's what you meant earlier when you said
it's not just it is like
it's the first big joke of the movie.
Unbelievable.
I would have walked out probably.
Right in Jason Bateman's face. Yeah. And it's like, he looks over the crib and the baby's the baby sphincter's there, and it's like taunting him. It's like a mocking baby sphincter mouth.
Did they sort of animate it so it was talking?
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the scene from Pink Flamingos.
Oh, okay.
It's that kind of, but it's not singing and it's not real, right?
And so it squirts poop on his face, and then it's still like, come on back over here. You just try and look over the side of the crib. I dare you. It does it again.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because that's absurd that they would carry that bit on for so long.
It is just like
to
the
start the movie.
lowest form of humor.
Yeah, and it doesn't get any funnier.
Mocking baby sphincter.
So we're led to understand that this is why this guy doesn't want to be in his life, because his life is all being having baby poop in his face and shitty.
And the other kid is like aggressively slamming his head up against the side of the crib.
Oh yeah, it's just
self-abuse.
At the same time, Ryan Reynolds is he's the never achieve. He's the total underachiever. He spends all day getting high and masturbating, and and has booty calls by various women. And
but his life is empty.
Right, and then they have the wonderful Alan Arkin arrive as his dad.
Oh.
And it's like my hopes spring when I see Alan Arkin walk in, and he's given nothing to do.
We're introduced to Ryan Reynolds' life, where he supposedly lives like a slob, but it is like the nicest slob loft apartment. There's what represents a mess is just some pizza crumbs in the fridge with a couple of beers or something like that. Right. And oh my God, his life is falling apart because of his lack of cleanliness. It's just
and like you said, he doesn't look like someone who lives on pizza and beer. He looks like someone that works out 10 hours a day, which is what
it's like pretentious bad production design set dressing. I mean, it's just
they'd spend all the money on the baby butthole. They had nothing left to decorate the apartment. They just let the Teamsters, just get some stuff from craft services and sprinkle it around.
So they're going to do an argument about their lives and wishing that they could have each other's lives and things would be better. I want to get back to this. I want to do that. I wish I was more Jason.
I wish I was more Steve. Steve wishes he was more me.
So they get horrifically drunk, and they find a fountain in the middle of the square, and they end up peeing in it while they're watched by this, I guess, angel.
Do we know what city they're in?
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Yeah, which is already
in San Francisco today.
Taking your penis out in the park in San Francisco. Yeah, it's unbelievable. How does this happen?
This doesn't happen.
It must be some sort
magic
of
does happen when that happens.
San Francisco tax break or something like that. So they switch. And I.
So let me guess. Now, it looks like from what I've seen that Ryan Reynolds does not, in fact, much enjoy suddenly being this intimate marriage thing. Of course, there's poop jokes with the wife and Thai food and all that stuff.
Right.
And then that Jason Bateman is kind of a little shocked by how wild the other guy's life is. But which one comes out the winner? Like, which one decides your life's really better?
They both learn a lesson, Peg.
They don't tell. Jason Bateman doesn't inform his wife that, or she doesn't believe it. They do inform her at one point.
They sit her down and tell her,
but she doesn't believe it. You know, like she doesn't get that.
Because
the reason he's apparently going crazy is because he's actually Ryan Reynolds. But this movie suffers from the fact that, you know, when the change happens, we should have seen the bodies. We'd have had more fun, I think, seeing. It would have been more entertaining seeing Ryan Reynolds trying to do all the lawyerly life stuff, as opposed to the Jason Bateman version of Ryan Reynolds doing this.
Right.
Or the Jason Bateman guy
make actual
being
physical
the
body
Slavic.
switches.
Oh, right, of course.
You know, and it made it hard to follow.
The only thing I really enjoyed about it was seeing Jason Bateman cut loose and be something other than the Jason Bateman kind of character he plays in all his movies.
Okay.
You know, because he has to be so outrageous as the Ryan Reynolds character that he does let himself loose, and he's kind of entertaining. He's not funny, but it's entertaining to see him, you know, break out of that I'm Jason Bateman, this is what I do kind of thing. He's the same character in Juno, and you know, it's the same basic
how
kind
he gets himself
style.
into trouble in the board meeting when he just basically doesn't have the answers that the people who see him every day and have known him for 10 years knows that he has, and all of a sudden it's just like he's falling apart.
Yeah, so he's a racist and sexist, and you know, it's just everything they don't, you know, everything. But they're all things that haven't really been established as that's what Ryan Reynolds is either, because they only give us like the first,
right? Of course.
You know, there's only a few minutes of very broad caricature in the beginning, so we don't know that this is really how Ryan Reynolds is. And then
all of a sudden he's more attractive to his assistant, the Olivia Wilde.
Yeah.
And then he angles to get what's John? Man, it's just confusing. I don't know. You know,
doesn't it seem like with films like this, where you've got this major conceit that's sort of based in what magic realism or whatever you want to call it, fantasy? Doesn't it seem like those films work better if they're really anchored in some really strong characterization and really strong setting? It seems like this one sounds like it's just depending on just that joke, and they didn't have to really think about anything else. They just kind of throw it in as they go along.
It'd be kind of like if we were just sitting there trying to imitate ourselves for giggles, with no plot, no story.
Yeah, and
no
it was trying. It was. Man,
so why do these
like
actors agree to do these terrible scripts?
Money, contractual obligations, who knows, chance to make out with Olivia Wilde.
Well, there's that.
But
I wondered the same thing. Why would Ryan Reynolds do a role that obviously he's not? This was just really bad casting.
Maybe it looks
he's a very funny guy,
paper,
but it's just not
right. Maybe it got like in the soup as they went along. Maybe some producers got involved and changed things around. That happens.
You know what it is? I think it's like they decide they have a concept. These two guys decide they want to work together, and they bring it to a studio, and the studio buys it.
Right.
I mean, that's what happened with the other guys.
And no one
Mark
can really,
Wahlberg
if you've got shitty writers that you're working with, you can't necessarily go out and get good ones all of a sudden. You got deadlines.
We'll fix it in post.
Right.
This is, and they
we'll fix that sphincter in post.
How much time do they spend like wondering about the universe and what the universe has done to them, and how this might change their outlook on like religion or anything, or the reality of the supernatural in their lives now? Not even touched upon. It's just like the only thing they're concerned about is finding the fountain. The fountain that they want. They just decided that the way that they're going to get back to their regular bodies is if they go back to the fountain and pee again. But Public Works has moved it. And they go to the city hall to try and find out where it's been moved to, but there's these, the worker guys
fountains
that
get
just
moved all the time.
Right. They're not going to know where it is for another 24, 48 hours or a week or something like that. And in the meantime, Jason Bateman has at his company like the biggest deal that ever is going to go down in that company's history, like a $700 million deal.
Has the biggest acting job he's ever had, which is doing a softcore porn movie,
as it turns out.
Okay.
Well, here's something. Before I was walking in, I met two of the reps outside the screening, Maddie and Jen, and they were talking about how I guess Brett had seen it. Brett's, the other reviewer had seen it, and was saying that Leslie Mann's boobs were fake. And I was like, oh, come on, don't tell me that. It's, at least something to look forward to. Leslie Leslie Mann is breastfeeding in this movie from what looks like an incredibly badly done pair of fake boobs. There's a pregnant woman who Ryan Reynolds has a booty call. That's incredibly, this incredibly fake-looking pregnant woman.
Oh my God, that was disgusting.
All these things that should be easy enough to do on a realistic basis. Than just doing a bad fake
The
job.
humor is based on disgust.
It's okay. It's obviously a movie made by guys, so you're going to show the woman breastfeeding. Just so you can have their action. Oh, put those away.
Yeah. Well, it seemed to me that this notion of a wife and mother was made, even though the actress is beautiful, she's made into this disgusting character. And that, doesn't he at one point say, don't back that up into me kind of thing?
Right.
I mean, just like...
Right. She's there to be the butt of a couple of male fantasy jokes.
Literally butt. I mean, this is very misogynistic.
And the thing is, there's no reason... This is like, if you went into Jack's Joe Shop and bought that plastic kind of like apron front with the fake boobs on it, that's how fake they look.
Oh,
and it's just like, why are you doing this to this lady? And, do you think it's
when you could do
us?
like a two-shot where you have a body double or a stand-in and just as easily show an actual pregnant breast.
Evidently, they do butt doubles. They do butt doubles, so they have boob doubles, I'm sure.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I think it's R-rated.
Oh, it would have
I
just for language.
Yeah, I think I got up to like 17 fucks.
When you have that many bodily functions,
I started counting.
Usually R-rated.
You should be like a little counter on the bottom every time they say the F word.
Yeah, this was just, oh my God.
I think it'll make money the opening weekend, but it's going to disappear.
Yeah. Doesn't seem to be getting good reviews.
No, there's enough stuff coming out this week that is actually good.
And it's I think it's actually a little sad because Ryan Reynolds, funny guy, Jason Bateman, funny guy. Just a
Leslie Mann, funny lady.
Sure, they're laughing all the way to the bank, and hopefully we'll go on to make some cool. Like Ryan Reynolds has done a couple of interesting indie projects the last couple of years. Maybe he'll. He's not a boring actor.
Yeah. No. And the abusive baby comes back for the inept father in the kitchen scene.
Well, there you go. That'll be the next sort of place-changing thing. The baby will switch places with the dad or something like that.
If people like Peter protest animal cruelty in movies, don't they have baby cruelty protesters that can, protest the
way the kid was slamming his head up against the crib was just insane. It's supposed to get a reaction out of you, and then they cut to the kid. There's like no marks on him.
Yeah,
it's just
not even that dazed look I get when I bang my head.
Well, obviously, anything that's realistic was obviously not a criteria.
But I will never pee in a fountain. That's all I can take away from it.
I wouldn't if I were you.
That's good.
Moving on.
Yes, please.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Or should we do? Do you want to do? Let's do Live Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Let's just get it over with. And you know what? I shouldn't dismiss it like that. It's good. It's a good film.
I'm glad to hear some critics are saying good things. I haven't seen it yet, but because I was expecting it just from the commercials you're seeing on TV, it looks horrendous.
Well, I don't
I'm hearing good things.
I don't think the computer-generated apes look very good on TV.
Oh, okay. There's that.
They look really, and the thing is, they still look computer-generated in the movies, but you get used to it. Cool. You surrender to it because they're giving good performances.
Okay.
And then I was realizing that back in 1960-something?
68.
I watched Roddy McDowell in a Bad Rubber Mask and believed everything.
You did? Well, I gotta say, didn't it win awards for makeup back in the day? Because I still would say that's an example of a stunning movie makeup. The Planet of the Apes movies, absolutely. It took many hours.
It really was amazing. I think what this film retains is it is a little frightening. It's a tragedy in a way, and it's sort of like, wow, science can be frightening.
Well, give us the setup, because of course the old setup is that this astronaut is transported way into the future. Right. He thinks it's the past, prior to evolution of apes into humans. He finds out much later, you blew it up. He finds out that this is the future. But what's the setup in this film? Why the apes have taken over?
What's the guy's name? The actor?
James Franco.
Thank you. James Franco is a scientist trying to develop a drug to cure Alzheimer's. And he comes up with this drug that basically they inject it into a body and it repairs damage in the brain. That's what it's meant to do.
And it works very well on apes.
Right.
Apparently.
So they're experimenting on apes with this drug.
Right, with the hope that they're going to use it on humans. But then one of the lead ape, the one who's really getting smarter and better from using this, goes crazy in the lab and they shut down the project. Come to find out that the ape wasn't just going crazy, the ape was pregnant. and was protecting her child. That's why she went mad when they tried to drag her away from her baby. And whatever genetic changes the drug had made on the mom got passed on to the infant.
Right, which actually explains how the future of apes, the future moves forward with the apes being able
one
to
ape learns to
pass
talk,
on
then of course it
the
would
genetic,
pass on.
and then not only did it pass it on, but I think it was like really pronounced.
Yeah.
And then an ape that has been treated with this, I don't know what you call it, serum or something like that, has very pronounced green eyes. And so the baby Caesar had that, and you can kind of see how like the apes are going to keep on breeding, and then in the future, it's just going to keep on going.
Right. And at one point, Caesar. He grows up in a. James Franco was supposed to terminate him as well as part of it, but he's a cute little baby ape. He can't, brings him home.
And they individually terminated all the apes.
Yeah.
So Genesis, the company, actually didn't know, or Sysgen or something like that, didn't actually know that this one ape survived. And the only way that it could survive was that the one guy who was in charge with taking care of the monkeys said, you got to take this, take it home, so everybody knows about it. So Caesar's been raised.
Isn't that in one of the later sequels? Isn't there a thing where the baby ape is saved? What was his name, Milo, or?
What was the one where the apes came back to Earth? With the helmets and stuff.
But there's a baby that is taken away. There's this massacre going on. There's a baby that's saved, and he, in the next film, I think, then next sequel, then grows up to be a leader.
Ricardo Montalban raises him in the zoo.
That's right.
I'm a big fan of the series.
Oh my God, you are! You pulled that out of your ass very quickly.
Ta-da!
Talk about pulling things out of ass. Think about it. There's
none of that in this movie.
5 films, a TV series, a TV special. None of them deal with the subject of aggressive poop throwing. There's none of them.
I was going to say, because that would have been a lot more, suitable for this film than it would have been for the change.
Not even when the apes weren't intelligent. There was still none of that.
I'm intelligent now. I'm going to throw poop. Now I know why I do it.
Yeah.
So he ends up. So they end up raising Caesar, but and at the same time, James Franco, his father has Alzheimer's, and that's why he was trying to make this drug. Right. He's convinced it still works. He develops a new strain of it. Gives it to his dad. His dad becomes much better. But then you realize that it doesn't work completely, and his dad starts to regress. There's a scene with a neighbor.
Yeah, it doesn't hold.
Where dad's having an Alzheimer's flashback, tries to take a car. The neighbor catches him. Caesar sees the action from upstairs window, goes out to protect the dad, and ends up biting the neighbor. So he's put in monkey prison. Run by Brian Cox.
Yo, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yay!
So this is where like the college douchebag guys destroy humanity by being mean to the apes, just because like these fucking douchebags.
And to the Amish guys.
It's like civilization falls apart because of just a bunch of
Draco Malfoy
jerk-offs.
Interesting.
And it's
really?
Draco Malfoy, who's the college.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Franco leaves Caesar in this
monkey prison.
Apetorium, where all the apes hang out, and he thinks it's going to be something of an enclosed paradise, but really it's like Alcatraz.
Sure.
And these apes are abused and horribly treated, and the smarter ones come to realize that they can communicate with each other through sign language. So there is some sort of backhanded stuff going on that that they're.
It really does sound like a prison kind of metaphor.
That the guard guys don't
it's
get.
It's only apes, and it's like women in cages. It's apes in cages movie.
Right. Prisoner cell block.
There's one thing that I don't quite understand was that in the creation of this LV-138, I don't know, I wrote it down what it was called, but I forget what it is. It's,
the cure.
The monkey drug.
ALZ-112.
Oh, there you go.
That's what it's called.
ALZ.
And there's like an antivirus or something, some sort of virus or something is released, or what was it that was? What happens here that actually
when 112 only goes so far, and then it starts to deteriorate because the human body releases antibodies to fight it. Then they come up with the HDL-113, which has a virus that takes care of the antibodies, and that has no ill effect on the apes when they administer it. But there's an accident in the lab, and we realize it has ill effects on humans.
Right, exceptionally like virulently cancerous.
Wow.
And contagious. So when these people get it and they're infected, the first fellow to get infected is the guy who was the ape's caretaker, and he starts sneezing blood, and you sneeze. And
It's like a
that
28
gets on
days
you,
later kind of
and
thing, too. A little homage, yeah.
Well, that's how they end it, where there's going to be a sequel, and how the apes take over because this
it's not the apes with the virus.
Yeah, because it has no effect on the apes. But anyway, as Caesar gets to learn, he learns the prison ropes. It does become kind of a prison movie with apes. And then he escapes one night, breaks into the lab, steals the stuff to make the apes smarter, brings it back, and
in this other form, it's like a mist or something.
Yeah, well,
Caesar gets this other stuff, and he just like he opens it up, rolls it into the into their
they develop it to make it into
in the morning. The apes are all smart,
faster. So yeah, the apes are all smart, and then they break out and try to get all they want to do is get to the woods, but.
It is pretty cool. It is very tension-filled.
They don't want to become evolve like humans and drive cars and buildings.
No,
they want to get back to their home.
The center of what's going on here is the relationship between Caesar and James Franco's character.
Yeah,
it's like a not a bromance. It's like a brape-mance.
Yeah.
And basically, it's like a moral quandary that Caesar's having because he was raised by such a good guy, but then so horribly treated by these guys in the.
And he knows that James Franco's on the. He thinks he sees James Franco as the guy who put him in the prison and wouldn't take him home.
So Caesar becomes a character of questionable moral integrity, and you kind of read this in his eyes.
It sounds like it's a message like he learns the lesson of judging each individual by their actions as opposed to their stereotypical group. And so, of course, all these ape movies are a commentary on stereotyping based on physical appearance.
Yeah, and I think there's numerous circumstances where when Caesar becomes the leader and he's trying to incite the other apes to revolt and break out and get to the forest across the Golden Gate Bridge, he doesn't want the other apes to kill humans, although they do.
Right.
But there's a part of him that sort of becomes arrogant. Just like, I'll let you live. So what? Like you treated us like lesser beings. Now we're just sort of going to be like dismissive to you, which is, I think, in one particular scene, very evident, where they would allow someone that they know is bad to die. It's still like the same thing, even though Caesar doesn't do the killing.
Yeah.
But since he's kind of morally ambiguous in a way, since he starts out as this really good ape. I think from the audience standpoint, we're thinking, I'm thinking, things are going to go bad.
Yeah.
That you really shouldn't get attached to the ape. And I think they send that message out earlier. Somebody else says, this thing is going to become like twice as big and 3 times as strong as you, and it might not be a good idea to be friends with it. Yeah. So.
Well, did you see, was it Project Nim?
I haven't seen it.
The documentary?
No, I haven't seen it. It's playing across the street.
It's about these people in the 60s, these hippies who raised a chimp without ever, coming to the idea that, yes, as a baby chimp, it's really cute. You can dress him in clothes and he'll be toilet trained to do cute things, but then that chimp becomes an adult ape.
Right.
And that's when trouble starts because, he's an adult wild animal. And they, the hippies can't understand why he won't, play nice with them, even though it's just like, abusing them and getting them high.
Yeah.
The movie also makes some smart decisions. When they break out, I was like, well, how is it that they're actually going to, conquer humans in a way? I mean, social decay happens immediately. The city streets in San Francisco are just trashed by the apes. Yeah. And you're thinking, nobody's pulling a gun. Until finally somebody does take out a gun and start shooting, and they kind of make the point that you can shoot, but we can still bounce back for a little while, or if you cage us in your animal control unit truck, the other apes are going to rip the doors off and take the ape. They do get to the point where they break out the heavy artillery, the machine guns, because you're thinking, they could just mow them down, but...
And then you just get big rapes. Suddenly Gorilla shows up. But that was the one thing that kind of pulled me out of the movie is that when they're in monkey prison, there's maybe 50.
You ever been in monkey prison?
Some days. I just have that feeling. But they feel like there's maybe 50 in there. And then suddenly there's hundreds of them. And it's like the CGI program.
Yeah. All of a sudden it's now they can cover the whole rim of a building.
Where they came from.
I don't know where they came. I don't know that any one city would have thousands of apes in their monkey prison.
Yeah.
And their swinging capabilities were actually kind of cool. There was a moment in this movie where they telegraphed the arrival of the apes, kind of like in Jurassic Park when you knew the dinosaur was going to come in, because you could see the
ground is shaking.
You can see the ground shake or the water ripple. In here, you see since the apes are like traveling really swiftly through the trees, you see the
leaves.
a wave of leaves.
Oh, that's
fall,
neat.
Yeah.
Which was really
Yeah,
cool.
I thought it was just well done. And
Yeah, some of the journalists in that scene, they were like, "Whoa!"
Someone was asking me, why does this need to be done? Haven't there been enough ape movies? Or they just did plenty. They just did one with the Tim Burton one not too long
a couple
ago.
years ago.
I was like,
That won't ever really get respect for what.
yeah. And who cares why? Why? Because it's well done. It's a well-told story. It sets up. I think it reinvents the franchise. It sets it up in a great
It
way.
still has things to say.
Yeah.
Frightening dystopia.
Monkeys.
Still does have
And also
things to say
just,
about people.
our attitudes about animals these days we're far removed from what we thought about animals in the 1960s.
Yeah.
I mean, the concept of animal rights wasn't really a thing, not except unless you're some
This is like a
fringe
thing
person.
about
so-
animal rights. I was also thinking, why did it have to be? It could have been like bunnies. They could have tested this stuff on
I
bunnies.
wouldn't have gone on bunnies.
Well, yeah,
No.
Charleston Heston,
Rise
we were
of the
taking a
Planet of the
movie,
Bunnies.
Conquest
Doesn't have the
of
same ring, yeah.
Beneath the Planet of the
Playboy
Bunnies.
bunnies, though. I would have seen
That
that.
would've been sweet.
That's a different movie.
But I think one of the coolest moments, and it's kind of like, we all remember the first one. You really did it. You blew it all to hell, guys.
Yeah.
Damn you, dirty apes. That kind of which is used in the movie, kind of funny.
Nice.
But the scene where Caesar finally speaks, there's two scenes where he speaks. One where he yells in frustration, and then one where he talks to James Franco, and I thought it was awesome.
Oh, cool.
Just what he says and the way he did it. I was like, yeah, he can talk.
It's like if you're in a different country and you're afraid to talk because you're like, I'm not going to pronounce this the right way. I'm going to feel uncomfortable. Maybe that's what Caesar was thinking. He's thinking like, wow, I can actually talk, but I'm not going to do it right now because it's going to really freak everybody out. So I'll just save it for my private time, personal conversation.
It's Charlton Heston who just loses his voice because they strangled him, and then he finally gets it back and he says, "Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty."
Yeah, he is brought to the limit in one of their apitorium breakouts.
We should do a show on Charlton Heston someday.
Oh, that would be.
It's so many
interesting.
classics.
Oh yeah,
So maligned.
Have you ever seen the Celluloid Closet, the documentary, The Celluloid Closet? About
Yeah.
You told me about that. I haven't seen it.
It's about homosexuality in Hollywood.
Yeah,
alleged homosexuality.
But there's this great scene where Gore Vidal is talking about Charlton Heston making Ben-Hur and how the producers and Gore Vidal was one of the scriptwriters. And talks about having to film this scene where Ben-Hur and this little friend meet after the wars, and they told the one actor,
guy friend.
They told the one actor to play it as if they're long lost lovers.
Oh, right,
but
right,
they
right.
couldn't tell Charlton Heston that was the subtext of the scene because he would just lose his mind. So they decided not to tell Charlton Heston, but they told the other guy. So the other guy plays it for all it's worth, and they show the scene, and it really works great.
Wow, I'm
But
gonna have to
Charlton
watch
Heston
that
apparently
through.
has no clue.
Look at that in the new
It's a
Hollywood
great documentary, just really wonderfully done.
That scene you're talking about it's in the making of the Ten Commandments on the disc.
No, not Ten Commandments.
No, it's Ben-Hur.
Or Ben-Hur. I'm sorry, not Ten Commandments. I mean Ben-Hur. It's in the making of Ben-Hur on the Universal disc.
Ben-Hur's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, it's great.
And I just watched Soylent Green recently, and it's not only it's still a good movie. It's special effects
Cheesy,
don't hold up. But
that should be a remake.
To me, that's like Edward G. Robertson crossing over into the
whole thing.
Yeah.
It's an ascot on a big 70s fly hat.
Or how about the end of the Omega Man?
Oh, I love that
Right.
movie.
Right.
That's another cheeseball 70s
Didn't he do some? Was it the Towering Inferno? He did some of the other disaster movies.
Earthquake. No, Towering Inferno he didn't do. He was
Paul Newman.
It was Earthquake.
Earthquake. Yeah. With I think it was Lauren Green, and that was so like pre-Die
I
Hard.
loved those movies. Earthquake incense around.
With Charleston Heston just trying to get these people up a couple of floors or down a couple of floors in the building, and it was just...
Or just the Poseidon Adventure, those were disaster movies, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been on the Earthquake ride at Universal Studios?
No, I have not.
It's hilarious.
Oh, my.
You just end up, you're in the subway stations.
Charlton Heston. Oh, you know what? I did many years ago. You're on the tram and all of a sudden the earthquake
it starts to shake and water floods in.
Yeah, okay, I did do that like 20 years ago.
On that again. All right, so we're done here. We're talking about Charlton Heston, so we'll
let's
the Apes.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I recommend it. it's fallen.
All I can say is when
It's
I
very
walked,
succinctly a first chapter, definitely. But
cool.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
when I walked out, Ty Burr from the Globe just looked at me. He looked at the smile on my face. He goes, "You really like that, didn't you, John?" I was like, "Yeah."
John, I have
almost
to
went
ask
again
you,
last night.
I was
Oh
listening
yeah, I
to
heard
our.
there was another one last night. I couldn't.
I was listening to our review of a quick review of the Smurfs, and you told the story about how you walked out because you didn't have the right glasses or something like that. You said there was like before you went into the theater, you were frisked and you giggled. I'm like, do you giggle when you're frisked?
Pretty much.
You walking into the
Sort of the
Smurfs,
mind to
you were,
punch the people that are frisking you.
were you frisked?
Probably.
Because you would try to like sell an illegal download.
I get a huge kick out
Do
of
they
it.
like turn you around and kick your feet apart?
No, I get a huge kick out of the security guys who work. You know, I talk to them all the time. And
They do know us.
I'm always begging them to frisk me, and they won't do it. Yeah, I'm always like, come on, full cavity search. And they're like,
Do you remember like sort of like after
go in.
9/11 where you just go to a movie theater just as a civilian, you know, and you just like they would explain it like I remember going to the Harvard Square Theater and they're like, we need to check your bag. I'm like, for what? Which, and you could tell the employees
right
did
after
not want to
that,
do
yeah,
this.
yeah.
You know,
Right.
checking your bag consisted of you opening your purse and then kind of looking and saying,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead. I'm like, seriously? Because I actually said to someone, I said, if I had a gun or some dangerous explosive in there, you would not have caught it just by doing what you just did.
Right.
So are you aware that your policy is a load of crap unless they teach you how to do it properly or have it properly trained? I'm like, so what you're doing is really just an embarrassing violation of
Right,
privacy.
and, like-
She's like, I know.
And what
She's doing what she's
what
told.
movie were you going to see? I mean, like, were you going to enact this terribly terrorizing, horrific event in the middle of
I don't even know what it
some
was.
Smurfs? Yeah, like
Yes.
the world's not going to
Why
come
would
to an
we
end
see
during this, or maybe one would.
It was just,
decide to
it
end
was
the
just the
world.
policy,
well, I remember the first time I was in a movie theater and they were using the night vision goggles.
Oh right,
You know,
right.
and so I was talking to the security guy. I go, "Do you have night vision?" He goes, "Yeah." And let me see. He goes, "I can't." I said, "Come on." He goes, "No." You know, he's trying to be serious. And I'm
Let
like,
me
"Come
see
on."
the goggles.
Yeah. So we're sitting in the theater and I can see him put them on his head. He's walking around and I'm kind of like going, you know, I'm flipping him in the finger in the dark, and you could see him just kind of shake his head. And I went up to him afterwards. I go, "Did you see me?" He goes, "Yeah, I saw you." I was like, "Was it cool?" He goes, "No, it wasn't cool." I was like, "Why do you have night vision then?"
Man, you know what actually happened to me before Rise of the Planet of the Apes? I had a bike spill.
Yes.
Actually, a pretty bad one. I was crossing Berkeley, and the movie was going to start in like 5 minutes, so I was being a little pushy.
Was it Fenway?
No, it was at the Common, and I was a few blocks away from the Common proper.
Right.
And I hit my brakes hard because this guy from the left would not stop, and the whole front end of my bike went down, and I went over the handlebars onto my hands and knees.
I thought those were
and the first thing
stigmata.
I think of is like, oh god, the people behind me must have thought that was hysterical. I'm like,
That always
one
bothers
was
me when
really
people laugh,
entertaining.
or like if I'm teaching a film class and some violent thing happens and students start laughing, I'm just like, what? And it's not meant to be funny. It's just
Right.
like someone, like there was, I don't know, some episode of Millennium where this kid has broken his leg and he falls down this whole big cliff down a river, and they laugh.
oh,
It's not at all
it's hard
intended
not
to
to
be funny. I'm
like.
how do
It really freaking hurt, and I turn around like just to let the other
See, I
3-4
don't
cars
laugh when that
behind me know
happens.
that I'm up and I'm okay and everything. But then I'm also like, that must have been really funny.
Last time
to see my feet play up.
No,
time
I
I
immediately
fell-
wonder if somebody's hurt when that happens.
Last time I was walking with a friend and I fell right outside the theater and I went down hard.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
I ended up wearing like
saw
a brace on my wrist and all this other stuff.
It's
When
like on the ice or something?
No, just tripped. Just
Did anybody laugh?
Well, no. My friend Elwood was there and I fell down and he's like, "Dude, you all right?" And I went, yeah. And I looked at him, I go, "Was it funny?" And he goes, "Yeah, it was really funny, but are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm all right." And then he laughed. It was like,
Sucks. This is like when I walked into Cowboys and Aliens last week and nailed my thighs against the bar in the dark, and the people in the front row laughed.
He literally-
And I
he had-
really thought it was not
Nailed his
freaking
thighs.
funny, man.
No, that would hurt.
That hurt.
See, I'm clumsy, so I'm like, the thought
Right.
that people laugh at me every time I hurt myself, that's...
Eesh, man, getting hurt on the way to the fucking movie.
they don't
man,
cry every time I
sucks.
pleasure myself,
No, well,
which would be the
that's
same thing, right?
different. It's not.
The opposite, no?
And that's
That
another
bizarro
thing.
world.
That's the bizarro world again.
5-8
John, you're the
movies.
bizarro world again.
5-8 movies, a TV series, not one discussion of the issue of furious masturbation by the apes. None of it.
Yeah, I was,
If you
when
go
you
to
were
the-
talking
if you
about the
go to
blue flinging,
if
I
you
was
go
going to
to
ask, and then what about
if
the
you go
like
to the zoo,
relentless
that's what you're
masturbation?
going to
That's all
see.
they do.
Go to an apes movie, there's nothing.
I don't want you to refer to it as furious. Maybe energetic. get it.
No, I don't mean furious like angry. I mean furious like frenetic. Is it frenetic? That works for you?
I think that's the only. I think if you look up frenetic in the dictionary, there's a picture of masturbating.
It's not just poop throwing.
There ought to be.
It's furious, angry poop throwing.
No,
Yeah.
John doesn't like
Never
furious. We're going to go with
once.
frenetic on this one.
Frantic.
Oh my
It's
God!
frantic.
And from that, let's move on to
The artful film of our trio of
One Day. Lona Shirfik, which you guys have seen. I'd really. I would have loved to have been able to have gone yesterday, but I got
He was
bogged down
at
with
home
life.
furiously throwing poop.
frenetically masturbating. Well, Lone Scherfig, of course, is the Danish director who first came to prominence with Italian for Beginners, which was a dogma film and a very delightful
I have not
one.
seen that.
Oh, it's really terrific. It's just it's lovely. And then she made a film that not many people have seen, but was I think received a lot of critical acclaim, and I think is terrific, called Wilbur Wants to Kill Himself. And then she did, she did a couple other after that, but then the one that was really big last year, which was nominated for several Academy Awards, was An Education,
She
starring
could
Carey
have
Mulligan.
very well been nominated for Best Director for that.
Absolutely, and I think she should have been, quite honestly. That was on my top 10 that year. And then this more recent one, also set in London, like An Education, and starring Anne Hathaway and Jim Sturgis, is that his name? As, two college students who, they have a one-night stand, and it's sort of awkward, but then it happens on July 15th, which is also known as St. Swithin's Day, which is one of hundreds of weird little agrarian festivals that the English still celebrate for
St.
Swithin's Day. It's probably one of those things where they used to like throw a bushel of corn at each other, whatever, back in the day.
Curiously.
Dancing around a maypole or anything?
It's probably used to have some country festival attached to it, but anyway, they decide, well, maybe we'll do something for this day, and then it flashes forward to the following year on the same day, and he's helping her move into her first apartment in London. I believe they're in school in Edinburgh, right? And then they're sort of still friends, but there's some sexual tension. And then they go through the years, and he's kind of a spoiled rich kid whose parents are the wonderful Patricia Clarkson.
Another reason you should have gone.
Oh, she's
I
terrific.
saw that, and I was like,
She doesn't have enough to do, but she's terrific in what she does. And then I don't know who the actor was, but his father was a great actor too. And they're very supportive, but don't obviously kick his ass very hard, because he becomes this kind of, over the years, this very decadent, dissolute playboy that works in TV production. And then Anne Hathaway's character Emma is from a working class family who you never meet, and she wants to be a writer, and she works in a Mexican restaurant that's really demoralizing. She starts living with one of her fellow coworkers, and there's always this thing kind of like, well, we're friends, but maybe there's something more, and they sort of have little confessions, and the years go by. And predictably, they eventually end up together, and it's sort of equally funny and then equally tragic. And I think John agrees. There are elements of it that you've seen in other films before. You've seen this conceit of the years going by. It reminded me a lot of Me Without You, which was who's the director of that? Sarah Silverman, I think. Her last name was Silverman, I believe. Sarah
I know
something.
which one you're talking about.
The film with Michelle Williams and Anna Friel about the two girls who are best friends, and there's a love triangle with one of the girls' brothers over a period of 20 years, again. Also set in England. And it reminded me a good deal of that. And in that, and John and I, when we were talking earlier, agreed that there doesn't seem to be a really legitimate obstacle keeping this couple apart. And that seems to be a problem.
But it also, I didn't get there was any sensation why they should be together either. I didn't feel any chemistry between them at all.
Okay, I think that's a fair
Yeah, I was just like,
too.
leave him. He's a jerk. He was a jerk. And then at the end we're supposed to believe he changes.
Well, you do see his charms, but they're the kind of charms that appeal to women who are much more empty-headed than Anne Hathaway's character. So you kind of wonder why.
Why does life work that way?
Sandra Goldwacher?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Oh, John's got his phone here. He looked that up. I knew it was an S. An S word was the first name.
Sorry.
It's an extension of your brain.
Yeah.
You need to actually know this, John, instead of looking at it on the phone.
I'm too dumb
this way
for a
you can
smartphone.
internalize the knowledge.
I like to extend my brain whenever I can.
There you go.
Furiously and frantically. Extending my
I
brain.
do have to say about this
Furious
film,
and
though,
rageful are the two themes.
despite the fact that it was a little bit cliched here and there, and it was a slightly derivative, and a slightly predictable here and there. I did think the performances were pretty strong from supporting characters as well as the main actors. And Anne Hathaway, I think, is pretty much terrific in everything she does. I wished, like John, that there'd been a little more chemistry. However, what I think is really strongest about this, and I don't know if John, you're interested in this, but what I really love about Scherfig's films is that so much of the story is told in how she conveys locations, and this was very important in this film because they're everything. You have to get the life story of how things have changed in the past year in a matter of seconds because of where they are, and so the editing and the production design in terms of really placing these people really believably in the spaces they were in, I thought was beautifully done, and I think she's such a visual master.
Compression of time and place that she did so well in education.
Absolutely.
It made Paris look so inviting.
Well, and also
it made Carey Mulligan's character seem more learned, grown up,
right?
Experienced.
Yeah, and you could see through that character's eyes how exciting and sophisticated Paris was. But I think even just the little details that you see and little kind of themes that she'll have throughout her films, like in Education. When I interviewed Lona Scherfig about that film, I mentioned this scene where the young girl's father doesn't really know what else to do. She's heartbroken. She finds out this guy's a playboy, whatever, and he leaves her this little plate of cookies and tea, and it's just this close-up, and it's just this moment. And when I talked to her about it, liking it, she said, "I'm so glad you noticed that because we spent a long time figuring that out." And the actor played her father, who's in
help.
No, I'm not going to extend my brain
Law and
anymore.
Order LA now. Oh, you're killing me.
Richard.
No.
Richard Gere?
He was in Chocolat as the nasty guy. He was in Dead
Alfred
Man.
Molina?
Thank you, Alfred Molina. And he, she said that when they were talking to him, this character wouldn't put those cookies on that plate, in this way, whatever. Right. So they have another similar scene where Anne Hathaway's character, she's got this roommate on the phone, tearful with a boyfriend, I guess, and her cookies are on the biscuits, on the floor. And Anne Hathaway's character goes and gets a plate and picks up the cookies off the floor and puts them on the plate, and the girl's still babbling away on the phone. And just these little moments that they're purely visual, and they tell part of the story. And the way that she tells stories through gesture, and I really respect that. And even though this film is really much more talky than it needs to be, kind of like I'm being right now.
Yeah.
We'll throw in John. You're just kind of like, you didn't like it.
No, I didn't like
films
it.
Very dialogue.
Even visually, you didn't.
No, I think part of the reason was that the Jim Sturgis character is such a freaking sleaze bag. I never
from the
believe. Yeah, I don't believe the transformation, even though it's done in these big dramatic ways that anyone who would go through this should change their life. But no chemistry. Didn't like him. I didn't like the way the story jumped year after year after year. Some of the things you said, how they would change the sets or it's like suddenly it's this year. Oh, we've got cell phones. It's this year. We're doing this.
Right. They're on computers.
All those things were pulling me out.
Well, that's interesting.
And the clever way she would announce that it's 2001, 2002.
Like had a screensaver that scrambled.
The toaster would go up and
the
they would flash. All that stuff was just annoying to me.
Oh, okay.
And then when she's
that's a fair comment.
There's just when
I liked it, but
there's a big moment. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's this big moment, and you can see it coming a mile away, and I'm just like, really?
And I have to say,
happened.
I didn't like that the film went there in that way. It felt like there's this wonderful payoff, and then there's this horrible downturn of fortune or reversal of fortune. And realistic perhaps, but it turns the film from it's almost like I think that the director really knew what kind of film she wanted to make, but audiences have to find their way in, and the way that at least the audience we were with saw it, they're picking up on all the humor, and it's humor, and then suddenly boom, it's this very, very sad thing. And I think for some audiences that will be problematic. I would imagine.
And I think that it had some of the most blatantly manipulative music I've ever felt in a movie. It's like, it must be sad. There's cellos.
Oh, you think?
Cellos.
Down on this film. You must have.
I thought some of the music choices were nice. I thought others were just sort of kind of establishing the period or whatever. But I do have to say, and I think maybe John just didn't want to, because he didn't like so many other aspects of it, wasn't open to appreciating it in this way. And maybe because of my love for her earlier work, I was able to kind of distance myself from those elements and focus on the ones I did like. And I think she is such a master of visual filmmaking and editing and telling the story apart from the dialogue. I actually need to get research who wrote this and the adaptation and all, because that was a problem for me. But I will continue to watch her work because I think she's such a masterful director. And with the right material, I can't imagine she's not going to become one of the great names of our age.
I got to thinking, I think she will be. I
think in education,
really
was a start to that.
Yeah.
Because that was a really well written story as well. That was based on some woman's memoir, I believe.
I won't be dissuaded, John. I still really.
Oh, I've never dissuaded you. That's not an issue.
But what did you see a couple
But
days
John's
ago?
comments are valid, I think.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I do think so.
I saw The Guard with Brendan Gleeson and.
You said something like in the past 2 or 3 weeks you've seen
three of your favorite films. Brendan Gleeson and Don Cheadle.
Ooh.
And it's
who directed that?
My phone's working overtime. I'm extending my brain.
I forget.
It's a story about Brendan Gleeson is a cop in a small town in the west coast of Ireland.
Oh, nice.
And
it's like a John Borman thing, like the general.
Yeah, like the general. Yeah, but there's a dead body with these mysterious words scrawled on the wall in blood and all this, and like, is this a serial killer? What's going on? And it turns out that there's some drug runners, and Don Cheadle's an FBI agent that comes over to help him solve the crime. None of that matters. It's a buddy movie between Brendan Gleeson and Don Cheadle, and Brendan Gleeson has what I call charming Irish Tourette's, where he says the most outrageous things, but he says it with that wink and a smile. You know, it's like when he's talking about
Irish Tourette's.
Yeah, he's
he's
talking to Don Cheadle's character about, so did you grow up in the projects? He's like, I did not grow up in the projects, and I had very privileged life. Oh, did you not? He goes, yes, I spent my winter skiing in Aspen. I didn't think black people skied. Or was it swimming? Which is it you don't do? And you just, your jaw drops.
Wow.
And Cheadle just gets so flustered, and there's that smiling Brendan Gleeson, like, I'm only having, is he really only having taking the piss out of him?
Really a racist, or he's just trying to push the guy's
buttons? And he
buttons?
just keeps saying the most outrageous things, and it's just...
Okay, you've sold me.
That, to me, was the most...
Well, you had me at Brendan Gleeson. And what else did you see the last couple weeks, you said?
I really liked The Devil's Double.
I'm hearing good things, yeah, I want to see that.
Which got some mixed reviews in the papers today. But I like Dominic Cooper's portrayal of Uday Hussein.
Yeah, he's terrific.
And then I'm working my brain here, but there was a South African movie about AIDS.
Huh.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. I don't recall the title.
I can't remember the title either.
But Devil's... What's it called again?
Devil's Double.
Devil's Double?
Yeah.
I hadn't the desire to see it, but after what you've said, I guess I'm kind of interested.
I'm going to save that other one because, I would like to actually we'll talk about something else. I'll find it.
Picks of the week. I think we're doing our...
You do Picks of the Week. I'll find that other one.
Which, I think it's kind of turned into more like what's new this week. Because I used to be like,
What's opening?
like, well, okay, if I had to do like
new movies?
Picks of the week, The Big Lebowski has come out in a special edition Blu-ray.
Ooh.
Multiple.
That looks like a nice packaging you got there.
Yeah, it's actually really.
I didn't say nice package.
It's sweet,
sorry.
Of the things that one gets as a journalist, this is one of the things that I was like, damn, man.
Free DVD.
Nice. This was actually, I watched it last night and this morning, and it's just one fucking funny movie. I didn't think. There's just more to discover about.
I had to confess I have never seen it, which is the weirdest thing ever that I haven't seen this film. I know. Well, now I have to do.
Well, I've
DVD.
purchased this a couple times on DVD before. This one they sent me, and there's a couple really good extra features on it. One I want to point out is called Jeff Bridges' photo book, where it's not just they're showing you pictures from Jeff Bridges, who is a really excellent photographer that he took behind the scenes during the making of the movie. It's actually a 15-20 minute video of him sitting at home. I guess he's in his fireplace room, and you're with him as he turns the pages of the book and describes each photo.
Oh, that's neat.
And so it was very kind of a personal
See, those
touch.
are the kind of
like
DVD
that kind
extras
of
that I like. I don't like these sort of canned interviews where they're just sitting there answering questions. I like stuff that's real content that they manage to make
It's not
relevant.
a featurette to sell it. This was actually a nice personal touch. The other pieces. There's a piece on the dude's life. They've interviewed the guys who came back to do the DVD. You don't get new interviews from the Coen brothers, but you get new interviews from Steve Buscemi and John Goodman, who's really giving, and John Turturro talks about his 3 days work as Jesus.
Right.
Yes.
Nice.
Dios mío, man.
Oh my God.
And they're all and Julianne Moore. She comes back to do some interviews. They do
Is that her
the dude.
only Coen Brothers film?
I don't know.
I think so.
I mean, it must be.
They have another neat. I guess it's 15-minute piece on the Lebowski Fest, which talks about the beginning of that and how it's become this
It's
sort
a whole
of phenomenon.
subculture. It really
Yeah,
is.
it's fun the way they put this Blu-ray together. I dig it. There's some other things on it that are like gadgetry, you control. I don't. Whatever.
Have you ever seen any of Jeff Bridges' photo books?
Yeah.
I've got one for Seabiscuit, and I've got one for something else.
Fisher King.
No. They
I'd love to see
did
that.
it at the junket. So
Yeah, they. I do recall that.
And then he's like putting out records and stuff now too. This guy
Yeah,
is just he came and
about
played
that.
in Cambridge. Did he play at Club Passim or something?
Did he?
Something like that. Not
Surprised
long
me.
ago.
Well, he does at the end of his book thing. I think or at the beginning of it, he talks about the fact that he does have a new CD coming out, and you can check it out. And also, the part of the feature that he does on his book here is you can all of the photos in his book are individually available for sale, and you can buy them at jeffbridges.com, and all the proceeds
nice.
go to
the dude.
no, not the dude. It's
Charity.
Screen Television Actor Guild, something
that's
like
cool.
that. So you can read about that at jeffbridges.com. The other thing that's really cool on this disc is they do an interactive map of the locations and what's happened
nice.
to them today. And the most disheartening thing is that most of where they filmed The Big Lebowski no longer exists anymore. They filmed it at the Hollywood Star Bowl, which was torn down some years ago.
that's
It was
so sad.
it was actually closed at the time they filmed it,
Yeah,
and
right.
torn down not too long after, and turned into an elementary school. So what provides the stylistic ambiance of a movie no longer exists, which kind of sucks.
That's heartbreaking.
And Joe's Coffee Shop was never actually, it was closed at the time they were filming it. So
Does Sam Elliott do any commentary?
No, they do have some stuff, I think, from Sam Elliott and the Coen brothers, but it's included on the making of The Big Lebowski. It was already, I think, on prior releases. You can tell that the Coen brothers interviews are like definitely 10 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Jeff Bridges and Steve Buscemi stuff, and that's new, and it's good. It's actually, I don't think this is like a wildly out of price Blu-ray. I think it's like a $14.99 Blu-ray.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
And for a book, it's good.
All right. Do you ever watch a show called Burn Notice?
I've seen it once, and I have to say, I love Bruce Campbell. I was in 2 plays with Jeffrey Donovan in graduate school.
Really?
Yep. And in fact, we were in Marat Sade together, and he was the Marquis de Sade, and I was Charlotte Corday, and I got to whip him on stage
Wow.
in this play.
Well, Bruce Campbell.
And now he's a big star.
Bruce Campbell is a show on, I think it's on USA Network.
Yeah, it's USA.
Set in Miami. It's like a private investigator show, and Bruce Campbell is his sidekick, Sam Axe. And they did he's got his own movie now called Burn Notice, The Fall of Sam Axe.
Yeah.
So it's like a 90-minute TV movie of Bruce Campbell's adventures. It's hilarious.
Yeah, my husband and I want to see that because he doesn't like Jeffrey Donovan at all. But we both love Bruce Campbell, and we've been wanting to see
and it's
it.
classic Bruce Campbell. He's
great.
the plot's silly. He's being brought up for court martial, and then you find out he went down to he got caught sleeping with an admiral's wife, so he gets sent down to Bolivia to investigate this thing that's it's just kind of like going to Siberia for a Navy guy, and then he ends up helping the local Contras fight for freedom and all that. But just classic, and I love the in-jokes about the whole thing. Like they give the local people give him a name in Spanish, and it sounds really cool. He goes, "Hey, that's cool. What's it mean?" It means the chin. And he goes, "Why would they give me that?" He sticks his chin at the camera.
What's the name of his book is called? Not Leading with My Chin.
Leading with My Chin,
Is that what it is?
But the reason I wanted to talk about it was Jeffrey Donovan directs it.
Ah.
He's the director, and he's the star for Notice, and Peg's
He's
whipped
moved
him.
on.
Peg's
so.
whipped him in the past.
Doesn't
Well,
it
you know,
suck
see, I
when
think
you,
it's a
like, you
stepping
know
stone.
people?
What I really want to
Right.
do is
You know?
direct. I know, why him and not
they're
me?
like all
I know, I
freaking
think that all
famous
the
now.
time.
But
Yeah,
I
well,
once
that
got
was
a call from my brother and said, you should get in touch with my friend Vince. He's working on this movie Rudy down in... And I'm like, oh yeah, we'll hear from him.
Well, you know who else was in one of the
Vince Vaughn.
plays I was in with Jeffrey? Is Liev Schreiber, who's a major
Really?
movie star now. Yeah, we were in The Merchant of Venice together.
Who I
Did you
think
whip
was in
him?
one of the
I did not
coolest
get to
freaking
whip Liev
scenes
Schreiber.
last year during Salt. When he,
Oh, yeah.
when he played the
He's done very
government
well for
guy
himself,
who turned in the secret cell beneath the White House.
Well,
It
the
was pretty
reason
cool.
I wanted to talk about this, besides that it's a good movie, is that when you're talking about DVD extras, you know, you hate that the general making of thing.
Yeah, right.
They have a making of on this one, but it's kind of a fake documentary
Oh,
about
that's fun.
how Jeffrey Donovan went mad during the filming out in the woods, and they're like
Right.
they treat it like a Heart of Darkness thing about
Yeah.
how he loses control. They've got all these things about him like giving acting lessons to the mules. in the
Is this a
scene.
mockumentary? Is this for...
Well,
sounds
yeah,
fun.
this is the making of DVD extra, but it's like it's all done in like this Heart of Darkness way. It's really pretty hilarious.
Oh my God, this reminded me of something on the Big Lebowski DVD I have to mention. There is an introduction on this thing about how they preserved the film, brought it back. And, John, they say that John Goodman's voice was re-recorded and whatnot. But it's actually really, really funny. I mean, this is like a 5-minute film, an introduction of this old guy sitting in a chair talking about how they have saved and restored the Big Lebowski. And there's no credits on it, but the introduction is quality enough to have been, I think, possibly added by Joel and Ethan Coen.
Ah, nice.
There's no credits on it.
Right.
You don't know who this guy is, but he's talking about this. I cried. There were a couple of moments during this intro that were just fucking funny.
Oh, I thought you were sad.
So no, it's
Yeah, I
just
too. I was like,
it's
oh.
just no. It's just a.
He cried furiously.
I laughed, I cried.
It's
I
it's,
was furiously and frenetically, and I masturbated frenetically as well.
it isn't. I'm looking at the thing here.
Pretty much my afternoon.
Yeah, it's not. It's not even listed on the bonus features. But when you go into the disc, it says it's an introduction. It's
Cool.
an introduction. In fact, what's it called? I think I wrote it down. It's called the Forever Young Film Preservation.
Huh.
Fake intro by this guy Mortimer Young. So anyway,
So I've got to be joking the Mortimer. Well, that looks nice.
Lebowski
Nicely
fans
packaged
might have
DVD.
something there that they'll definitely want to see.
All right, do you have another one, Peg? Do you have
I do.
something to recommend?
Do I have a pick? Oh, he's got more over there. He's got Mars Needs Moms. And
Yeah, well, I thought I'd say a couple of quick things. I actually liked this film, Dylan Dog Dead of Night,
Never
which
got
they
that.
never screened it for the press.
Yeah.
And Sarah and I watched
I
it
think
last
they were
night. We thought
scared it was going to get bad reviews and all.
Yeah, and it opened
Well,
like
you can
in
see-
Framingham for 1 week or
Yeah,
something.
You know,
scary.
it was a fun movie. This DVD is absolutely as bare bones as it gets, or the Blu-ray. There's nothing on it.
Yeah.
Just the movie.
Yeah.
But it was amusing. I mean, I digged it. It's about a paranormal investigator who's sort of this bridge between the relation between vampires, zombies,
Yeah.
and werewolves, and and them keeping their their subculture, whatever. On the low down as far as humans go.
Is it based on a graphic novel?
It is, yes.
Okay, that's
and I
okay.
like the
Sound of
idea
it.
that zombies exist, and every day they have to put on serious amounts of makeup and lip gloss and stuff to counteract their cataracts.
Oh, nice.
So they're like, you could be a zombie, and I wouldn't know. You just
Could be.
gotta,
I like that.
You're walking around.
Actually hiding what the zombie thing is supposed
Yeah,
to.
yeah. So it's foolish fun. I digged it. Dylan Dog Dead of Night. But then of the couple of animated movies that came out, there's Mars Needs Mom, which I thought was a beautiful looking film.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredibly beautiful looking film.
Disney.
But yeah, it's like lower part Disney.
Yeah.
You know,
Did you get the
I
Fox and the Hound 1 and 2?
I did.
I watched
Yeah,
the Hound
looking forward to
Dog.
seeing that. But what I really did was Rio.
Really?
The parrot thing. With I'm not so
It's
into
kinda
Jesse.
cute.
Yeah, it's cute and all. I'm not. And what I don't like group dancing sequences. Hate that.
Yeah, in
if you're
those-
annoyed by
yeah,
that, don't
yeah.
get Rio.
Yeah,
But
don't invite Steve to your wedding.
yeah, but and the other thing is that I think Jesse Eisenberg's voice is sort of.
He doesn't seem cut out for that type of voice
you know,
work
he's so-
because he's kind of one note.
Sarah and I
in a
were
way.
talking about this. Like
not that
this.
he's not a good
kind of-
actor. He is a good actor.
He's
but-
so humble and possibly smarmy, and he lacks he's a guy that
geeky
he
version
lacks,
of,
like he doesn't have any testosterone
What was the
whatsoever.
kid that was in Juno? That
Michael Cera?
yeah,
Cera.
he's kind of like because he's kind of a one note. Not that he's not a good actor too, just that you want to see some range
good,
coming out.
It's like they're very Jesse Eisenberg and Michael Cera. They're just like this type of male actor that's very. They just it's like they're missing some testosterone.
Well, they're very physically of a type,
frail.
and it's like when they age a bit and their bodies maybe change, their faces change. I think they might be able to expand in their range, but because of the way they look, there's just something almost very limiting about what they can do at this point.
I think with these guys, I think that there's a point where, like, yes, they're nice, and yes, you can see why they're, and they're very intelligent. They have maybe a Woody Allen thing going for them. But then, wouldn't women also be interested in, a guy that does dangerous stuff, a guy that is kind of like, wow, fun, which is totally not. Jesse Eisenberg's characters.
No.
I mean, you kind of like.
Well, so now he's coming out with that new one where he's got a bomb strapped to him or something. He's got to rob a bank or
But I'm thinking like if you're thinking like, why would you want to be with somebody like Jesse Eisenberg if everything is wimpy every day?
Well,
because he's got money.
And there's this great.
That's why some women.
There's this great disconnect with some voices. When they go to some famous voices when they go to animated films,
right?
Some you name your favorite animated characters probably aren't name actors.
Oh, absolutely.
When Brad Pitt and Catherine Zeta-Jones did Sinbad.
Who cared? Yeah, it does not.
All you could hear was Brad Pitt's voice coming out
Mel
of this
Gibson
thing.
is, in
Pocahontas. Yeah, some of them it just doesn't work.
Robin Williams is Aladdin.
Well, that worked for me.
The guy that's always doing Albert Brooks does a lot of voices on The Simpsons, and he's always he's just really, really good.
Yeah, some people just can't do it.
I think it's just casting the voice for the character, like Pixar does.
When we talked to Selena Gomez, when she came in for that movie, she did Monte Carlo. She did she was a voice in an animated movie. I don't know what it was, but she goes, she doesn't ever want to do it again because she realizes that you need to see her face to understand, to get her performance. It's not. She can't just perform with her voice. Right. You need to see her whole face.
That's actually what's happening in Mars Needs Moms. You've got Dan Folger and the mom, who's played by Joan Cusack.
Right.
Dan Folger, who plays this sort of Jim Belushi type guy, but they're basically digital extensions of themselves.
Right.
Seth Green actually plays the kid, but they've replaced his head. And
I actually
voice
don't
and stuff.
like that style of animation very much.
There is sort of the uncanny valley thing happening. Uncanny here, where it's a little strange. Oh, it is produced by Robert Zemeckis, so they did. This was motion capture.
He's got to stop that.
But at the end, it was.
Stop it, Robert.
It's design-wise, it's just a beautiful movie, and they kind of do that a little in Rio when Tracy Morgan as the drooling dog shows up, and it's obviously just like sort of the extension of Tracy Morgan, whereas the parrot Blue is or whatever he's called. Blue. What is it? Blue is a macaw. It's sort of an extension of Jesse Eisenberg.
Right.
In mannerisms,
And that works in a lot of animated stuff too, I think, fairly well, especially if they're animals or something.
But maybe this is something that Pixar doesn't do. I mean, for the voice actors in like The Incredibles, are those guys? Are their mannerisms worked into the Mr. Incredible?
No, in fact, I would say
Mr.
that's an example of
Ricky Nelson.
That's an example of incredible voice acting work in that film. I think just from the parents on down to the kids.
Is it voice acting work, or is it the physical character?
But I don't think,
Holly Hunter,
like what you're saying.
Is she Mrs. Incredible because this is what Holly Hunter does in real life? Is she,
I don't think so. I felt like the movement, the gesture, and the appearance of those characters was completely removed from what we know of those actors, and I think it was really well cast. Yeah, I thought it was great.
God, you know what I think of? Remember, John looked at me like, oh my God.
Well, you called me God.
Right. Well, do you remember the tiger Shere Khan?
Yeah.
And the guy who did his voice was the guy from All About Eve.
Wow, right.
And that to me is like,
Holloway?
wow.
Yeah,
that was like, that was freaking voice casting.
Louis Prima was King Louis.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or even a couple weeks ago when you were talking about Piglet from Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
That's Sterling Holloway too.
No, it's a new
Or
guy
no,
now. They're all new
it's a new
voices
one.
now,
Oh.
but it's just like, ooh, they're close
Wasn't
enough.
it? Was
Yeah.
it George? No, George, the guy who was the lion in God. What was it? Was George Sanders, or was that the character?
That
in
was
All
the
About
character's name in All About Eve. It was
Okay.
Sterling Holloway. On the subject of animation, just to wrap this up, I've been watching a series from Funimation called Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Wow.
Oh, right,
Great
John.
title.
That reminds me.
Series 5 came out today, or came out this week, which ends the 64
I
episodes?
just got this in the mail too. I thought
64
maybe you'd seen it.
episodes. And I went back because they're spaced out enough so I kind of forget, and I see a lot of anime and I kind of forget what's going on.
Yeah.
So I sat through, I started episode 1 and I went through to episode 64.
Wow.
It is the reason I watch anime. It's a
Nice.
epic story. It's beautifully written. It's beautifully acted. Episode 1 starts with two
Look at my
boys.
notebook is the Full Metal
Yeah,
Alchemist
yeah.
cover. I just borrowed Sarah's notebook. I didn't get this for that reason. It just happens to be this 3D Full Metal Alchemist notebook cover. Sorry.
And the story starts out. It's two young boys who are studying to be alchemists, and their dad goes off on a mission. You find out why later, like around episode 30. But their mom dies, and they try to use alchemy to bring her back.
Interesting.
And the rule of alchemy is, if you give this much, if you take this much, you have to give equal amount back.
Right.
And the thing they bring back from the dead is not their mother.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just some horrible thing.
Wow.
And the price they pay is that the older brother loses
Cemetery
a
idea.
leg and an arm, and the
Oh,
younger
my.
brother loses his entire physical body, and his spirit is put in that giant suit of armor.
Wow.
And then they go off on they need to find a philosopher's stone to try to go across the other side and get their bodies back.
So you have seen all
64.
60 episodes?
So it's kind of like
64.
it combines like the Monkey's Paw and
Yeah.
Harry Potter and
But-
Lord of the Rings.
But that's
and,
only in like the first few episodes, and then you find out that the bad people in this are actually trying to make a philosopher's stone out of the entire city to wipe out. And the only way you can make a philosopher's stone is by killing people. And so they want to destroy the whole city to make a giant philosopher's stone to bring the evil out from the other. Blah blah blah. It goes on and on and on.
Great.
It's layers and layers and layers.
Wow.
So I go through all 64 episodes. It ends beautifully. I'm a very happy boy. And then
Wow.
I go to the DVD extras. And usually extras are like commentaries or, badly drawn outtakes.
Right.
They had scenes from all 64 episodes, but with different dialogue put in.
Oh, wow.
So like when they were recording them and made mistakes, or they would
Yeah.
say silly shit, or
Yeah.
they, have the characters
Yeah.
swear.
We're talking the American voiceover?
The American voiceover.
Yeah.
So they would just have these, these heartbreaking scenes, and there'd be this hilarious dialogue.
Yeah.
And it was just such a relief after,
That sounds fun.
that would be about 32 hours of movie. And then you go and there's like 20 minutes of just hilarity.
So what are they charging for 64 episodes?
It's about, though they come in sets of 13.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And they usually go for
Well, actually,
so
I
it's about
brought this.
$5.
This is Casher.
Casher.
And I was wondering if you'd seen that.
Yeah, Casher on Blu-ray goes for $75. Anime's not cheap.
Yeah, right.
The good thing about anime is that they have a retro pricing. So they have at least Funimation anime from the 80s will come out on box sets that are only $20.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's also 80s anime, and
Yeah, it's not
the
as-
art is like so different.
It all looks the same.
But even though I went back from square one and watched all the episodes, fantastic,
That sounds
fantastic. Journey.
John, so is Captain Sins?
Is
What
it
is
what?
it? Did you get this?
It's okay. Yeah, I've seen it. It's okay.
And, I might spend some time
It's
watching it.
that's more dark and violent than you kind of expect anime to be. It's pretty brutal, but it's that one of these long journeys where he's responsible for the end of the world and he has to prove that he isn't.
Man, you know your anime shit.
Yeah, he does.
I'm impressed.
I'm just starting.
I am.
That sounds
Sorry.
right. That sounds like a story that I would like.
Oh, the Full Metal.
Yeah, that sounds really
If you
cool.
ever want to borrow, let me know.
I'd love to.
Let me know
Love
next
to.
time you're in town because
Yeah.
I've got them on like Funimation just in the plastic disc. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, I'd love to watch
but
that.
there's a big stack of them next to my bed. I'm like 64 done.
Yay!
Yes,
Are we good?
we're better than good.
We covered it?
You're awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining
Always a pleasure, and I look forward
Dig
to
it.
doing it again.
Your appearance
And
was
I'll
both
have a
frantic
pick
and
next time, and frenetic,
frenetic
and furious.
furious.
If anybody should happen to want to listen to any of our episodes online, we're at post-movie.net, and we're also on Facebook, and we're on iTunes, so if you can leave us a review, that would be super cool. And we did get I don't know if we have more than one positive review. I got to check on that.
No, I only posted the one.
We got to get all our friends to get in on that.
And if you furiously want to throw some
Poo at us.
sling some poo our way, you can be contacted at contact@post-movie.net. So until next week, I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long, everyone.